Hi guys, welcome back to another fun conversation with your favorite tech girl aka me, and in today's video we're going to be covering something that's very important for any product manager, that is user interviews. But before we get there, quick introductions. Hi, my name is Aarushi. I have about 7 years of experience building tech products. In these 7 years I worked across as a developer, as a marketer, as a product manager, and now as a content creator as well. I'm currently working in Amazon as a product manager, and in this channel I bring to you all that I have learned in the last 7 years of my career to anyone who's starting their career new, trying to figure it out. And what have I learned in the last 7 years? Well, I've switched multiple geographies. I moved from India to Dubai to now Canada. That's the Roger Center right behind me. And I have also switched multiple job profiles like I told initially. And I think in this entire process I've learned a lot about how to build a career, how to grow in a company, and how to generally figure it out. And it's a lot of adulting that goes into it, and in this channel I try to be the mentor that maybe I didn't have when I was starting new. So without further ado, let's get this started. Now this video is a little bit more focused towards product managers, but I think it's useful for anyone who's trying to build for a customer, and it is about taking user feedback. Now while a product manager does that more frequently, that is capturing user feedback, but so does someone who's in an operations role, so does someone who's actually in an internal facing role like HR as well. I mean, you can take customer feedback if you're servicing a customer, and that could be anyone. So I think this is important for anyone in any profile, but it is more from a product manager's point of view because that is my point of view. But I think it is good for anyone to go through this video who serves a particular set of customers. Okay, that's a lot of introduction. Now let's get to it. We'll break this video down into 3 sections. Section number 1 is what is user feedback, what exactly goes into it. Number 2, why is it important, and number 3, we'll cover various ways of capturing it, and then I'll share a few tools that I have used and I love to use so that you, my friend, can actually do the end-to-end over here. So without further ado, let's get going. So the first thing, what is user feedback? Why is it important? Why do people really care about it? So let's take a very simple example. Let's say you have your mother, father, whoever cooks for you at home. Now that person cooks for you, and then they make your favorite meal. Now when you try it, do they ask for feedback? Do they ask you if you liked it or not? More often than not, they would. If I cook for someone, I would want to know if they liked it or not, right? But why is that? Because 1, I really care if they like it or not. 2, if they didn't like it, I'd like to fix it somehow. If they like it, I really like to get the love from them. That motivates me to make something else for them next time, right? There's so many different reasons for which you need feedback. But imagine you didn't get that feedback that day. Imagine you didn't tell your mom that the food she made for you was great. Imagine you cooked something for someone and they didn't give you any feedback. What would you do with it? Maybe you'll keep cooking what you were cooking and you will not improve from there, or you'll feel so disheartened that you'll not cook for them again. It could go any way. So the feedback that you get in any relationship, in any transaction, is super important to keep that thing going, and keep that thing going in the most positive direction where it is happiness for both the parties involved. And that is what feedback is. Another thing that's important with feedback is that it should be always constructively taken. If I tell my mom that it was too salty this time, that doesn't mean that she doesn't cook well, it just means it was salty this time. And it's important that she takes that feedback with a pinch of salt. But yeah, so you've got to be more constructive with the feedback that you get, but your feedback is important for that entire cycle to go on and for it to be a happiness inducing thing for everyone, right? So that is what customer feedback is for any business, for any product manager, where they try to understand if the product that they've built has actually solved the customer problem or not, is actually useful for a customer or not, and if it is, what else could I do to make it even better. I'll give you an example. I work at Amazon, right? So I work at Amazon Ads, and with ads we want to make sure that advertisers have the best experiencing while creating their ad campaigns. It's been 5 weeks since I joined Amazon. I've interviewed several advertisers already to try to understand what I can do to make life easier for them, to make it better. What is it that they value, and how can I make it better for them? That is what a product manager or any person who's trying to solve for a customer should do. Ask them, how can I make it better for you? So that's the importance of customer feedback. Coming to part number 2, that is, actually we've covered the part number 2 as well. Why is it important? I think I went for a monologue there, but I hope you understand why it is important. It keeps the thing going. And now coming to part 3, which is how do we take it? Well, there are multiple ways of taking customer feedback, but I like to break it into qualitative mechanisms and quantitative mechanisms. Now, what does qualitative and quantitative even mean? Well, qualitative means when you've taken feedback which is more verbose, it actually says something, but it's not like 25% of the people have said that. No, what is that one person saying? You go into that and you try to understand what's the feeling, emotion, real sentiment behind that feedback. Quantitative is more when you can say, okay, X percentage people, X out of by number of people have said something, where you can quantify the impact of a particular thing. You can say what is truly the proportion of people, the magnitude of impact, or something through numbers where you can say what it is, what is the feedback there. I'll give you examples again. Let's go back to the cooking example. Now, when you told your mom that salt was it was too salty, the food was too salty, well, the feedback she listens to is that, okay, maybe the person that I'm cooking for does not like too much salt in their food, and probably I should reduce it as per their taste. But if you say it, your brother says it, your father says it, everyone else, like she cooked for 10 people, everyone says it was too salty. Well, now she understands that 100% of the people for whom I cooked say it was salty, then definitely something's wrong, and maybe I have put too much salt. It's not about their preferences, it's about something being exceptionally wrong with the way I've cooked. Another example that we could take is exit polls. Have you ever seen after any election, you would see some news channel going to people who have generally just voted and just interviewing them about what is it that they felt, who have they voted to, who do they think will win, and so on. And after they've taken so many exit interviews, at the end of the day the news channel says, basis the exit interviews, we feel XYZ party will win. Well, what is that happening? They first spoke to a lot of people, and basis the understanding that they had with the sentiment, they also recorded that feedback, and they said, we interviewed 100 people, 80 out of them said that X party will win, hence we feel 80% of the people will vote for X party. Well, that's extrapolation, and that's quantitative, which is based on the qualitative feedback that they took initially. So that is primarily qualitative and quantitative separately. And you also saw in that exit interview example where how both of these things are stitched together to get a final answer. I'll give you a more realistic product manager type example. Let's say I spoke to, again, I'm solving for ads at Amazon, right? So let's say I interviewed a bunch of advertisers and I tried to understand what is important for them. Maybe they said it's important that their ads get seen by many people, or it's important for them that they get the maximum value for the buck for their ad. Let's say these two things are important. Now I would try to understand that, okay, from the interviews that I've done, I've realized that these two metrics are important for the advertisers, but I still need to quantify which of the two metrics is more important. So now probably I'll do some kind of maths, I'll probably speak to 100 different advertisers and basis that figure out that, okay, maybe 80% of the advertisers like return on investment, value for money, and the other 20% like more views. So you got to quantify it so that you build for the largest segment. I would like to solve first for the 80% people, then for the 20%, because those are the majority of my users, right? Now, what are the ways of capturing this feedback? Well, for quantitative, there are usually two ways that I go by. First is in-depth interviews, where I would speak to you one-on-one and try to understand what you're feeling, why you're feeling, how can I solve that problem for you, and just try to get into your shoes, really empathize with you. These interviews usually last from half an hour to an hour for me, and I would really choose the kind of person that I'm speaking with. Again, for the Amazon ads experience, I might wanna speak to someone who uses ads more frequently, so that they have more pains with the ad product, but they also have more nuance while they give me the answer. Someone who's interested, who would actually benefit if the product improves. Maybe they're not having a good experience right now, but they genuinely want to, and so on. That's in-depth interviews. The second is focus group discussions. I can't stress enough on the value of focus group discussions. Couple of things that before I get into the value, focus group discussions is when you speak to a bunch of people together. You maybe call 5, 7, 8 people, advertisers, maybe in this example, together, and you speak to them as a group. Now, there are countless benefits of focus group discussions, and there are a few cons as well. The pros, I feel, is one, you can get feedback, like 8 people together, you can get their feedback. So one half an hour or 1 hour session can actually yield to a lot of learnings for you. 2, you can also get an understanding of the group think there. Now, what is group think? Let's say I think it's too cold out there, But a bunch of my friends, if they come in and they say, oh hey, it's not that cold, you can go out, you can, generally just walk outside, it's not that cold, I might get convinced and I might just be, majority wins, and I might just, just go out with them even though I feel it's cold. And my opinion might change because a lot of them said it's not that cold. Right? So that is groupthink, when you change your opinion basis what the majority is thinking. And if you call a focus group, you will realize how the majority is defining that view, how a lot of people's opinion, how word of mouth is actually changing the opinions of those who did not have that bad an experience, and how important it is to make sure that the experience of the majority is maintained so that word of mouth does not impact your overall performance of the product. So those are the benefits of a focus group discussion. The cons is of course groupthink. Again, you're not able to get to understand that true flavor of everyone's current problem statement or their current position. At times people are not that comfortable sharing in an open group setting, so you don't get to know everyone in that much depth. That's a con of it, and at times it could get really derailed. It's very hard to keep that under control. So that's the second con of a focus group discussion. But if it's chosen for the right kind of use case, like in my case, I used to choose it for cases where I had to understand the impact of groupthink, where I truly wanted to know how that is driving behavior of people. I used to do focus group discussions. But I've really enjoyed doing them a lot because they tell you a lot about people and their dynamics together. So those are the two ways of capturing qualitative feedback. And then you have quantitative feedback, which is usually done through the most common mechanism is surveys, where I could send you a survey and ask you to fill it, and we have sent it to 1,000 different people. I get the response back, and then I go through the survey and figure out what people have said. The other mechanism is also to go through data. Let's say I said that out of the advertisers, there are two kinds of advertisers: those who like value for money, and the second who like more views. Now I can just go back to my data and see when someone was given value for money, did they stop advertising, or did they stop advertising when they were not given impressions or views? And then I can understand that if them stopping advertising is the trigger, or is the proxy metric, or is the mechanism through which I can see that they're not happy, then I'll just see what's the correlation between the two, them having a bad return on investment and them churning, or them having bad number of impressions or bad number of views for their ads and them churning. And then I can understand which of the two led to advertisers going away, right? So you can also look at it through analysis, through your data, and understand what your users are going through, what is the 80-20 of it, right? So that is your user feedback. And the user feedback loop mostly is not in either qualitative or quantitative, but the entirety of it. You would speak to a few advertisers or few users and try to understand their point of view, get a few hypotheses or a few ideas in place of what the problem could be, and then go back to data, surveys, something quantitative, so that you can figure out where the majority of the problem lies. So that is the entire mechanism of taking user surveys. Now, like I promised initially, I'll tell you about a few tools that I like to use, but before I get there, a bonus point. Now, how do I measure user satisfaction or user happiness? Because that's the whole point of customer feedback, right? Well, there are two metrics that I swear by. Number one is NPS, or Net Promoter Score. It is basically asking your customers to rate your product on a scale of 1 to 10 and tell you if they would like to suggest or recommend this product to someone else. For 1 means least likely and 10 means most likely. And those who rate 9 and 10 are your promoters. Those who rate from 1 to 6 are detractors, and the rest are not important. Now you just subtract the percentage of promoters from the percentage of detractors, and that is your NPS score. So basically the agenda or the whole point of NPS is that your product, or Net Promoter Score, is that your product should be promotable. If people are happy with it, they'd like to share it with their friends and family, and that is the whole point of the question. It has a few cons, like for example, even if someone has rated me an 8, maybe they're happy with me, or maybe if someone has rated me a 7, they're happy with me, but you've not considered those 2 points at all. And then hence it's got its critique, but I feel it's simplistic enough, it's easy to capture this feedback enough that it goes a long way in capturing this initially. At least it's a good starting point. The second metric is CSAT, or customer satisfaction, which is on a scale of 1 to 5, where you again ask the same question, how satisfied you are, and you ask them to rate on a scale of 1 to 5. This also is again, it's hard to understand the difference between the person who's rated you a 4 or a 3 and a 5 or a person who's rated a 2 or a 3. So all of these surveys, all of these scales are a little bit, they have their cons, they have their critique, but I think these are great places to start from. In the absence of nothing, at least they give you some direction. There are also things like, what is your app store rating, what are the feedback comments that you're getting on the app store. Those are great places to get some feedback from, but anything goes, to be honest. So that was about the metrics that you should look at. Now coming to the final and the most interesting part, which is the tools that you should use. Now if you would have realized by now, there's a full funnel to it. You start with taking some you start with doing some user interviews, then you start getting some surveys. Basis those surveys, you figure out what is the most important thing to build. So you basically prioritize. Once you've built it, then you take it back to your customers, ask them for feedback again, and voila, it keeps going on and on and on. So for each part of the journey, of course, for initially doing your interviews, you would need some kind of planning, scheduling tools. So Google Calendar, Calendly, even TopMate that I use for scheduling one-on-ones with me are great products. TopMate is obviously a paid one, but Calendly has free features. Google Calendar is obviously free. It comes with the Google suite. So those are great products to use if you just are starting new. For surveys, I mean Google Forms, I swear by it. But then there are a few paid products like SurveyMonkey that are also extremely good for some kind of conditional questions that you might have in your survey. So those are for surveys, and then after that comes your prioritization, for which you can do some kind of CSAT or NPS, or try to quantify using your own data, for which you can use SQL. Coming to the next part, which is after you have launched something, you take the feedback again. So you go back to the initial tools like emails and then surveys, and then you iterate and iterate. But isn't it a lot of work where you have to go through a bunch of different tools, and then you finally release something, and then you go at it again and again and again? And through this process, even if you're sending a survey via an email, it's possible people don't read your email, or they don't respond to it, or it's just a lot of work through this and through a lot of different tools. Maybe not the best experience for your customer as well. Well, there's one solution in market that will actually solve for it, and one of those products is SuperPlux. Well, they did reach out to me and told me about their product, but I actually went through their portal and I genuinely became a fan. There are a couple of things that really stood out to me. The first thing is that they have an experience for the entire funnel. Like I said, capturing feedback, prioritizing stuff, release notes, they've got it all. Like you can see on the screen as well, it's truly covered. The next thing is they also allow you to capture NPS, which is again great. Like I said, it's one of the most important customer feedback metric that you can capture. It gives you a lot. Third, they also allow you to tag key customers so that you know who are your priority customers and you can capture their feedback for sure, which creates a better experience for your priority customers, as well as you being able to capture their feedback for sure. This product I think really works well for B2B kind of scenarios where you're selling your product to a specific business and you want to capture the feedback of your primary users. Apart from this, another thing that really works for the guys at SuperPlug is that they have a 6-hour support SLA. Yes, my friend, they are gonna help you within 6 hours, and they have custom integrations. They could integrate with any of your websites. There are a few things that were missing and for which I would like to call out as well. They do not have app integrations as of now. So if you want to integrate with your app, well, that cannot happen as of now. I think that's a bit of a downer, but it works to the extent that at least I can integrate with their website and get the feedback of that cohort of users. Or if you don't have an app, well, then it works for you. Another thing that I felt was missing in them was that you cannot map your users, like you cannot put them into segments and see what each segment is saying, which I would have loved to do if I was using the product. So they're currently offering the plan in 3 tiers. The first is of course free, and then you have $35 and then $74, the 3 different tiers, but that is the price right now. It is going to change to free, $49 and $99 in the next 3 months. But for people who are listening to my video and who would click on the link that I provided below, you can get the same price, which is the current price, even 3 months from now, and you will also get a 20% discount if you use the code that I've given in the section below. So please check it out, and I would definitely recommend that you at least go through the product, what they have built, and check for yourself. Truly, I truly believe that the product can actually be very valuable for someone who's especially in a B2B scenario, but in a B2C scenario as well. If you have a limited set of users, capturing their feedback and collating it all together into One place is super helpful, one for your customer experience, and two for you to make sure that you're not missing out on valuable feedback. Check them out, and I genuinely am shouting out for this product because I believe in it. So with this, we're coming to an end to this video. If you have any questions, any thoughts, any doubts, please put on the section below and I will reply back to you. And if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-da!